press that again.
Oh, there it goes. Looks like you're ready. Go live. All right. I need the video. View on YouTube and mute.
YouTube.
And I need the pop-out chat. Hello, hello, everyone. You can hear the squeak of the old stools. You're wrong. Over there. I went, you're wrong. Wait, that's the wrong camera. We have new stools.
You can hear the squeak of pleather.
Pleather, yes. However, I can wiggle now.
I can slowly adjust myself on the stool.
Right, and zoom.
Enhance. Oh look, we can get the perpetrator's reflection from the screw in this license plate. But
Right.
wait, there's more.
Okay, I think we're ready. Hello, hello, everyone. Oh, I don't want incognito. I just want a spare tab, just so I can open stuff. That'll do. Okay, we're ready. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? I went to look up there again. Bloody hell. How's everyone doing? We made it.
Good afternoon.
We were so close to being on time, and then I got involved in something else and was late again.
And then we got distracted by ranting about video games.
Ranting, yeah. We were ranting about Ori and the Will of the Wisps and how there's many mechanics in that game that are a really good idea but very poorly implemented. But yeah, I don't know.
I think the thing that annoys us the most is how good the game otherwise is.
Yeah.
I think it's a case that if the game was otherwise a bit meh and a bit naff, we wouldn't actually really care. But I think it's a case of because so much other stuff is so good, it's just kind of a case of going, I want more. I want you to be better. I want you to be perfect because so much of the rest of what you're doing is good.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's one of those things.
Yeah.
I guess they can only...
Whoops, that was not scrolling. There we go. Right. Did anyone walk in? No, the door is locked and the phone is off. I turned the phone off. I was like, there will be no phone calls.
There will be no contact.
There will be no phone calls. Right, yes. Hello, everyone. There's probably some familiar names in chat. Hello, Postal. How's it going? You stopped playing Ori? You got stuck? Yeah, well, that's how we got talking about it, because Caradog was saying, I'm stuck on Ori and the Will of the Wisps. And I was like, yeah, there was a few sections that I had trouble with on that as well. No voicemail. Yeah, the thing will pick it up. Whatever. Let's see. Right. You vote we buy Hugh a Hawaiian shirt. Do you own a Hawaiian shirt? You're a shirt kind of guy. You strike me as the kind of person who would own a Hawaiian shirt, at least one.
I can actually confirm that all I own are herringbone shirts.
Is that called herringbone, that design? Look at me. Do I look like I know what shirts are?
Hey, I mean, look at you. You've only got the correct number of holes in your clothing. In your clothing. Oh, no.
Devil July, thank you very much for the coffee tip there. Much appreciated. Here's some for coffee. Right. You're supposed to be working but watching instead? Yeah, I know that feel. Big time. Right. Well, Suka Carper, any recommend a good audio setup means speakers and headset? What are you doing with it? Because with, is this for gaming and stuff like that? Because if so, my current recommendeds for gaming headsets are either firstly, go higher end, don't buy a cheap one, it'll just be bad. And I quite like the Corsair Void headsets. I think those are really good. And also the high-end Rig headsets. The higher-end Rig headsets are also pretty decent. They're really lightweight as well. If you're just going audio and stuff like that, then you would want to go... What's your headphones again?
I've got Beyerdynamic DT770 Pro M's and the DT770 Pro, non-M.
Yeah, Bayer Dynamic, and then if you're going with that, obviously you need a microphone. In which case, the answer to that is USB condenser microphone.
Yeah, absolutely.
However, obviously that's a much more clunky audio setup because you've got separate mic and headset and stuff like that. So it depends on what you're doing, really.
The other option you have got is there is a company called ModMic that makes attachable standalone microphones for headsets that don't have built-in microphones. And the microphone quality on them is actually very good for a headset microphone. So yes, I have recently got myself a FiCo? I can't remember exactly what it is. K3 USB DAC. And...
Oh yeah, I remember you getting that. How have you been getting on with it? You're looking...
Yeah, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's very much a case of, I think it was something like 130 quid, something like that. And
can you hear the difference?
Fine.
Yeah, can you hear the difference? That's the thing.
Kind of. On a couple of bits, for a couple of specific things, maybe a little bit. But overall, no, it's not really any better than the sound I was already getting out of.
Hasn't changed your world.
But no, but I also didn't expect it to.
Yeah.
I also had no expectation of it changing my world. I just got it because it was a good recommended USB DAC. And I was like, this comes highly recommended. Let's get one. Let's see what they're about. Let's see if they're actually any good.
Yeah.
Because all these people who are like, oh, audiophile. And I'm like, can I actually hear a difference? And I'd say I have average to slightly better than average hearing. Because I pick up on stuff going, oh, that sounds a bit crashy. Oh, that sounds a bit dead. Far more often than other people seem to.
Yeah.
But also I can't really tell a difference between that and I had some Asus USB 1 that I can't remember what it was called, and also just running sound straight out of my Dell monitors.
Yeah, I was going to say what we should do is we should get that in the shop, and I should pick out the trashiest motherboard I've got in here with the trashiest onboard audio, the absolute worst case scenario.
Yeah, absolutely.
And plug your Bayer Dynamic headphones into that, and then plug it into the USB. Then plug it into the USB one on a really good built computer, so we know that there's no CPU bottlenecks or something like that. So we can go from, like really good headphones, absolute trash audio to, to the USB DAC, and see if we can hear the difference. I mean, like we're both men of the world kind of thing. Like, we're not audiophiles, but I think both of us like to think that we can hear the difference on quality audio. I think that I can, I don't have super high quality stuff, but also I listen to my headphones and I can hear their limitations, so I know what good sounds like. And I like to, and that would be interesting because I think I can appreciate that buying a good pair of headphones is going to give you really good audio. I think I'm more interested to know whether it's actually, is it actually worth? Because often when I'm looking at motherboards, I'll look at the audio circuit and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's got decent audio on it, or oh, that's got really trash audio. But the question is, can you actually hear the difference? I mean, really, I'm sure there's people out there that will say they can, but I want to know if I can hear the difference. Because if I can hear the difference, then I'll turn around and go, yeah, it's absolutely worth getting a USB DAC, because then you're getting the best that it can deliver. But if I plug some Bayer Dynamic headphones into the trashiest motherboard I can find in my shop, and I can't hear the difference, I'm going to be like, no, it's all in the headphones,
Yeah, I think part of it for me as well is just the fact of I hate onboard audio now. Onboard audio has failed me 3 times, 3 separate occasions, 3 completely different motherboards, 3 completely different computers, and it's just done stuff that's weird and not worked in the way that plug-in sound device, ta-da sound device works, should work. So I'm just like, I'm never using onboard audio again because of that. Not because of any sort of sound quality thing, not because of any, this gives a richer, warmer sound, but just because it actually sodding works.
Yeah.
That's why I was using the sound output from my Dell monitor, because the PC thinks it's an HDMI device and doesn't futz around with it. It just goes audio out, and then the Dell goes, sound.
Do you have
and
speakers at home, or
works.
just headphones?
No, I've only ever had headphones.
Yeah.
Because I can buy £150 pair of headphones that sounds like £1,000 speaker setup.
Yeah, that's true.
It's
yeah,
like, I'd rather have
that's a good point.
the £1,000 worth of quality for 150 quid
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I like having the freedom of not wearing headphones sometimes. However, yeah, most of my gripes with audio and onboard audio and stuff stems from just the way that devices behave differently. And anyone who's done any streaming will know all about this. Is when you're having to route audio from different sources to different outputs and how weird things happen. Like, for example, when you're on a I can't remember which way around it is off the top of my head, but if your computer is using a digital output, changing the volume you hear doesn't change the volume that the audience hears, whereas when you're on an analog output, it does change the volume the audience hears and things like that. But these are all stuff that you can get around just by knowing it. But yeah, on the other hand, though, I'm always switching between... I have a Corsair Void wireless at home, and I'm always switching between that and a set of analog speakers. So obviously, because I'm switching not only between two different outputs, but a digital output and an analog output, the characteristics of how everything behaves changes depending on what output I'm using. So yeah, I can completely relate to the fact of, no, I use headphones.
Yeah,
basically.
I would, if I was going to stream, I would just have a mixing desk. I would just pipe out digital audio from my PC and just go, digital audio out of PC, do not touch on PC, twiddle using hard knobs.
Yeah, I'd need a bigger desk if I was doing that, but that sounds like a good idea though, yeah.
Yes, and just a case of, just actually just change it on hardware that is designed for audio mixing.
Yeah.
Actual specific hardware. I am 100% of a fan of single function hardware.
Yeah.
I will buy a sound card because I want it to be a sound card and do nothing but sound.
Yeah.
I will buy a clicky button to turn things on and off because it only turns things on and off. I want it to function, and I want each thing to only do its function, because then you can very easily just hit that button, turn everything off, change this option, and it changes that option. There is no, but actually it might be configured to do this. It only does that thing, and it changes that option, and it's done. I like that raw simplicity of just having a function for each function.
Yeah. I think one of the advantages of the streamer world that we live in now is that there's lots of devices that come out that offer, mixing desk functionality, but just a bit smaller, because obviously I don't need a 16-channel mixer. I'm not putting on a rock concert here. I just want to control output to a couple of different potential outputs.
Absolutely.
And, the mixer world has created a market for little baby mixer decks and things like that. And yeah, I think that's an entirely valid option.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely. It's, oh no, I've completely forgotten what it's called.
Hello, Mahu Gaming. Sorry, carry on.
I've completely forgotten what it's called. But it's an XLR interface, which does lots of mixing and effects and stuff in it. But it's a device that only does those things and then passes out the effectively processed sound for you to then do stuff with. And it's just like, I like that because it just goes, here is the outputted sound. There is nothing else that needs to happen with this sound. Send to audience. Done. And I like that kind of simplicity. And also it means I can just take that output and plug it into anything. And I know it will be almost identical everywhere. Yeah,
that's fair.
So yeah.
THQP, recommendations for super low profile RGB keyboards. You'll be a little... it's the RGB is what makes that tricky. Have a look at Logitech, because they still make low profile keyboards, and they probably have low profile keyboards that are backlit. Don't know if you'll get RGB, but you can probably find one that's got a white backlight if that's all you're looking for.
Oh, yeah, I've forgotten whatever their top-end wireless one is. It has some sort of mechanically typed switch in it, and is a reasonably low-profile one, but is also like £300 for a keyboard.
Oh, it's not the one that Jay's 2 Sensors got, is it? Yeah, I remember that. I remember looking at that video going, that's a really slick-looking keyboard, but his conclusion was also, this is a really slick keyboard, but it's horrendously overpriced. But it's one of those things where it's just like, it's the only one like it on the market, so they can kind of charge whatever they want for it.
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of, I guess it's a case of going, is the feature set and so on worth the massive amount of money that they're charging me.
Yeah.
I think it's under their gamer side as opposed to their normal side.
Yeah, probably.
So it's under G.
But hypothetically, the Logitech K740 is a low-profile backlit keyboard. It's also 80 quid, which again is daylight robbery for what it is, but that's a low-profile backlit keyboard. Not RGB, but it is backlit. And
Yeah,
it'll be a
absolutely.
white backlight as well. And I want to find out what that gamer keyboard is now because I know exactly the one you're talking about. And I remember looking at it going,
I think
that's
you'll have to look
awesome.
at the G site.
Yeah.
There was an option somewhere on there.
Connected
Oh, collection.
collection, yeah. Collection.
No.
Nope. Type it. Logitech gaming keyboard. You can read out that super chat while I look for this.
I can. Okay.
I was
That's
going to say, come on, I'm sure you can manage that. That was a very simple request.
No, that's fine. I failed on the dramatic emphasis. Ewan gives us £5, shockingly, for some reason. Just wanted to show some appreciation for the great content you put out. Loving the live streams too. I'm amazed that this counts as great content, considering I think we've well trained the audience.
Your charisma there was astonishing. I like it how it took you quite a while to start reading it because I went back to looking at the website and I'm like, no, seriously, could you read the live chat? I'm trying to find the thing. Yes. Thank you very much. Greatly appreciate it. And yeah, I'm glad you're enjoying the live streams. We seem to be doing a good professional idiot act at the moment, which is the main thing. G413, someone says. Ooh. I'm looking for it.
I would expect much higher numbers. I'd expect it to be like a G999.
Yeah. Oh no, I think that's just
something.
what he's got. The G413 is just a generic. That's mechanical though, which isn't what we're looking for here.
Well, he wanted. Didn't he say something like low profile mechanical?
No, he just wanted low profile. He doesn't like the feel of mechanical, is what he said. Which is legit. Some people are just like, some people don't like mechanical. Yeah.
I'm good at reading.
Some people just ain't into it. I can't find it. Someone find out what Keyboard J's 2 cents has got. He did a video on it. But yeah.
Exactly.
The 915. No idea. Is that Putin on the coffee mug, sirs? It is not. It's One Punch Man, I'll have you know. One Punch!
Okay.
And he said, okay, yep. So yeah. Oh, here comes Luke Page. What's up, Page? How you doing? I too, for some reason, decided to throw money at you. Thanks for the content and the insight. You're a baddie, Page, and I love you. Don't worry, we're friends. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it.
Oh,
By your support, we can now afford chairs that don't squeak. So...
So is that the terrible marketing message we're going to give? We're going to just have a really low quality of stream and so on and say, by supporting us, you too can improve the quality of the content you watch.
Yeah, it's like, did you see the message I put on the last one where I said I put in Amazon associate links to the stools that we bought, saying you too can own the same stools as us. By the way, we've literally just ordered these. We don't own them. We don't know if they're actually any good. You know.
Yeah, basically.
Good.
Yes.
Right, let's get back on topic. Michael Roberts, I'm thinking of building a games computer for my grandson for Xmas. Where do I start?
Start by picking a budget.
Yeah, yes. Start by picking a budget. That's a really good line.
And also, I would say that try and push for more than £500 equivalent.
Yeah.
Personally, for the actual box.
For the tower.
The actual tower.
Yeah, the tower.
£500 plus around £100, £150 for a monitor. Then, keyboard mice can be £100 or less because you can get really good keyboards and mice for 30 quid each. So like 60 quid. So yes. I would.
Yeah. So yeah, really depends on the budget. As to where to start, you could either. Really, you want to go to a community. For example, you could join our Discord server, which I shall get a link to because I probably should have that. You could join our Discord server, drop that into the chat somewhere, and just say how much you're looking to spend and what country you're in. Yeah. And I'm sure at least one person is going to be like, here's a rough spec for you to get started with. Smash that into Amazon or your shop of choice, and start moving forward from there.
Yeah, I would look at, dependent on parts availability, if the 3300X, the Ryzen 3300X, is actually in stock and shipping in your country, I would get that. If it isn't, I would look at something like a 2700 Non-X. It's a previous generation, but it's approximately the same performance as the 3300X, give or take a little bit. Then you could quite easily get away with basically any A520 motherboard. They are cheap motherboards, and they're aiming to be cheap, so they're not fancy, but they are cheap, which means you can spend more money, more of your budget on getting something like a 1660 Super or a 2060 Super if you're buying right now. Or and it gives you a little bit of budget for some RGB gaming streakers.
Shiny.
Streaks.
Yeah.
Strips, that's the word. Yeah. Oh god, English. And you can kind of build from there. So that's roughly what I'll be looking at. If you've got more money and you're kind of going, it is purely a gaming machine, and then not going to go from there, look at something like a Intel i5 10600K, some Z490 motherboard, 16 gigs of RAM, the usual kind of other specs around that, and I'd guess...
A lot of this really just depends on budget, really. Otherwise, we're going to sit and list through possible specs for every single budget.
Yeah, but it's that's where I'd be looking as a minimum. Yeah. That's the minimum point I was kind of be looking at, personally.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree with that.
Or a case of, if you're willing to chance it on availability, is you can look at new stuff like the 30 series and the new Navi 2 stuff for 6800 XT, 6800. If you're willing to chance availability before Christmas.
Yeah.
If you're kind of going, I have to have it before December so it can go somewhere else.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to look at previous generation stuff, most likely. Or at least, certainly on the GPU side, because Ryzen 5000 stuff is coming out in 6 days. You can look at it in 6-7 days.
Yeah,
and then
I think it's worth. If you're
there.
thinking of building now, I think the first thing to do is to wait a week and see what the Ryzen 5000 series looks like on release in terms of availability and price. Because like in the UK, I said this in the Discord yesterday. The taking the 5800X as an example, the 5800X is it was listed to be $450. Now, right now, by the time you've put UK tax and stuff on that, it's going to end up being £450. And you can get a 3800X for £330. And as I said to someone in the Discord yesterday, I don't think the 5800X is going to be £170 faster than the 3800X, if you see what I mean. Absolutely. Now, if it comes in at like £400 or something like that, we can start having a conversation there. Absolutely. However, I have a suspicion that right now, because the 3000 series of CPUs has dropped so much in price, they are offering much better value than the 5000 at the moment. They won't be as fast, but the thing is, it's not like the 3000 series is slow. The 3000 was an astonishing series of processors.
Exactly, yeah. It's not like you're kind of going, oh, this is going to be slow, but it's cheaper.
You're just still not getting the absolute killer latest.
Yeah, exactly. It's also a case of, I would avoid looking at anything older than like that.
2000 series is dead. Yeah.
And also the case of, I saw a couple of people flicking through in chat saying like X79 motherboards and stuff like that from China. Just don't. No. Just don't. You will get better performance than you can possibly build out of that system from a 3300X.
Yeah. Don't just... HEDT, unless you're actually doing something very special, like actual enterprise workstation stuff, stay away from high-end desktop. And that, like, if you're a mad lad with unlimited money, sure, knock yourself out. However, if you're actually looking for bang for buck, that's not in HEDT. Stay the hell away.
Yeah, exactly.
Thomas Lomas just threw in $20 and said, "Love the content." Thank you very much, Thomas.
Shocking.
Much appreciated. Yeah. Was there something else? No, I think we're still good. Let's see. How did you come up with Adamant IT? It's not Adam Ant. It's adamant the word. To be adamant about something. That's it. It's one word, contrary to popular belief. Hello, Irish Bull, by the way.
Adamant.
Let's see. Also, someone else also said thank you for the video about fixing raw partitions on hard drives. You're most welcome. I did spot that message. Thank you.
Yes, I think the other comment out of this is was saying that like X79 and so on in Ryzen 2000 is dead. We're saying that from the point of view of buying it as a brand new machine today.
Yes. Don't get me wrong.
If you own it and it does what you need now, you don't need to upgrade. Just because something new has come out, it doesn't mean you need to buy it.
Yes,
Just
absolutely.
because something has come out and is new, it doesn't mean what you have is invalid and is not suitable anymore.
Absolutely good point. That's not what I intend. When I said Ryzen 2000 is dead, that doesn't mean that if you own a Ryzen 2000, then your computer is obsolete. What I mean is just don't buy one today. You know,
certainly not.
Yeah.
Certainly not at higher prices, if that makes sense. Certainly not at the £400 mark for a processor.
There's lots of people going sort of, oh, look, you can get a 2700X for only like £140 or something like that. And it's just like, no, spend a little extra and get a 3600 because then you're on the current, well, still at the moment, the current generation kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yes, when I say this is all dead, I don't mean that that's not quite what I meant. But
it's not a case of you have to go out and replace this kit. It's just a case of don't
buy
get
into it now.
Don't get misled into buying it.
Yeah.
Is more of a point. I mean, certainly like the cheap Facebook computers that pop up and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, where they'll sort of go, oh yes, it's a 10 gigahertz processor.
Yeah.
Because it's got 8 cores,
yes.
You know, X speed. And it's just like, that's not how numbers work, but okay.
It's kind of like if you're buying graphics cards right now, it's just like, don't buy a GTX 10 series graphics card. I've got a 1070, and it's great, and I don't need to replace it. It's a brilliant card. However, don't buy a 10 series graphics card today. You know, buy a 16 or a 20 or a 30 if you can find. You get the idea.
Yeah, it's certainly a case of if you're buying older stuff like that, you have to be very careful on the price.
Yeah,
you have to make sure that you're getting a relevant price.
And to me, a relevant price is it's second hand, and I'm paying a third of retail value, kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like I personally wouldn't be spending more than 150 quid on a 1080.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't spend more than £150 on a 1080. Even if its performance is higher than that price, because it's now 3 generations old, I wouldn't want to spend that much more on it, even if the performance profile doesn't match up with the pricing like that.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
The GTX, Ravneev says, are 1660-ish, 580-ish GPUs dead? I don't think so. Now the Radeon 500 series generally punches above its price tag in my experience. The 570 and 580, it's old silicon, but they're still pretty quick, and you know, just straight gaming cards, they're pretty good. They also seem to dodge all of the AMD driver issues, to the best of my knowledge. As far as I know, I don't know, like, people with 5600s and 5700s and Vega 64s have had issues with drivers. However, as far as I know, the 500 series dodged all of that, so they seem to be absolutely fine. The GTX 16 series seems to be very strong at the moment. I've not run any as daily drivers, but based on everything I know about, like the benchmarks they come in at and the current price tags on them, they seem to be very strong graphics cards. And also, they're very modern as well. Like I had a 1660 Ti in here the other day, which we put into one of my friend's computers while he waits for a big graphics card. And, you know, it was a case of, it was a modest graphics card, probably worth about, I don't know, £200 or so. And I'm like, this is a really nice card. It's got a really nice RGB twin fan cooler on it. And it's got a single 8-pin input to it. It's a really nice presented card that I think looks really smart in a computer. Yeah. It's the kind of graphics card that you'd want to own, as opposed to some low-end cards. They're like sort of the super compact ones with just a plastic shroud and a single blower on it. And you're like, well, it's probably okay, but it's not a very nice graphics card kind of thing. I'm sure, you know, maybe it performs well enough, but it's nothing that I'd be proud of. But the 1650 Ti's, is there a 1650 Super?
Yeah, 1650 Super.
Yeah, the 1650 Ti Super and the 1660 Ti and Supers, they seem to be really nice cards, and they seem to be really good bang for buck for 1080p gaming.
Yeah. Don't buy the Ti versions of them when the Supers are 99% of the performance, it's 75% of the price.
Agreed.
Basically.
Yeah.
The Ti is not worth the extra money unless the extra money is 1 unit of currency, 2 units of currency.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because the performance profiles are so similar.
Yeah.
That I'm amazed that for some reason they're still continued products.
That's true. Yeah. I'm hoping that when all of the 30 series are out, we will have a much cleaner product stack, because the product stack is a bit of a mess at the moment.
Absolutely. I'm half imagining, though, that we're not going to see anything lower than a 3060. I'm kind of imagining that it will just stop at 3060 and that's it.
I will take a 3050 if it cleans up the bottom end of the product stack. And by that, I basically mean the GTX 16 series. I mean, I literally just said how they're really good cards, but also it really annoys me that the 16 series exists at all. You know, it frustrates me that they didn't just do... maybe... I hesitate to say that maybe they should have just called it a GTX 2050, you know? And been like, you know, we can't call it an RTX because it doesn't have ray tracing, sure. So just call it a GTX 2050. That at least would have put it in the 20 series kind of thing. So the product naming convention made sense. And I don't know. Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's a case of they just wanted the 20 something to mean has ray tracing.
Yeah.
They wanted it to mean that.
Yeah.
So yeah,
of course, the uptake on the 20 series just wasn't what everyone wanted it to be for multiple reasons.
I would like to see something like a 3040 that is actually new silicon, but at the bottom end, to replace all of the 1020s, 1030s,
sure,
1030 GTs,
yeah,
710s, all of that. Just bin all of them, get rid of them, pull them out of the driver stack, and just go 30 series and up, new driver stack. That's it. All that's supported is 30 series and up, and it's all Ampere core.
Yeah, I don't care how they do it. Just clean up the product stack is what we're saying.
I would pay more money for that, for it to be Ampere 10, 3030.
Yeah.
Then I would, then even for like a 1050 Ti. Or...
I'm sure they've got some bottom bin stuff that they could just slap onto a card and say it just about works. Yeah. I'm sure that's doable.
I'd take that.
Someone asked, did I get a 3070? No, I kind of had a cursory glance on release day and scan.co.uk was offline. Cloudflare was just like, no.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And I'm not the least bit surprised, quite frankly. So, yeah, it's just, I'll buy one when I can, basically.
Yeah.
I think.
The thing I found most bizarre was I was looking and I looked at eBay.
Yeah.
And eBay said, we don't expect delivery until the 27th of November.
Yeah.
I was just like, what? Come again. It's launch day. Why am I not going to get this card until over a month later?
Yeah. It's just like, so you don't have it then, is what you're saying? That's the thing. People are just like, sort of, it's a long delivery time. It's like, no, it's not. You don't have it.
Yeah.
Delivery time, it's just like, this is the new world. Delivery time is 12 hours unless you're rural or whatever, reasonably, if you're in the Western world, delivery time is 12 hours. So it's just like, if you can't deliver it in under 12 hours, you don't have it.
Basically, yeah.
So just, get out of here with that noise.
At least the courier companies will do 12 hours. So if you say, it will take 2 days, then it's kind of a case of, that's warehousing as well. But it's just kind of...
Is the 5500 XT worth it? I can't remember if the 5500 XT is any good.
I think it's fractionally faster in raw gaming speed than the equivalently priced Nvidia thing, but it comes down to do you want an AMD graphics card or do you want an Nvidia graphics card? Because by performance it will be a hair faster. The same with most AMD graphics cards.
That looks about
for price comparison.
I wouldn't risk it just purely because I don't trust the drivers on the RX 5000 series. Apparently the latest driver seems to be good, so it might be that AMD have cracked it, but this is very early. I saw some guy say that the new driver is actually stable, and And I think that might have been Postal with his Vega 64, which is obviously a worst case scenario. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, client. Oh, that's fine. The chat is back. For a minute, it was just like, oh, you're disconnected. There's lots of things going on. I'm just going to back scroll a little bit to see if I missed anything.
Yeah, absolutely. But yes, it's a shame because, as I maintain, there are no driver problems with AMD. I've had a 5700 XT since release, and I have had literally zero driver issues. And it is genuinely the case that I dodge every single issue that people say, oh, it affects all of these things. Oh, it affects all of them. I'm just like, I managed to dodge that every single time.
Yeah. Who knows? I do think NVIDIA really screwed up and potentially hurt their reputation with the 3000 launches. They've been a shambles. Well, they have legitimate excuses. We talked about this last week, and apparently, like, the demand, it's not just that they didn't have enough. They had more than ever, but, like, the demand was, like, unbelievably higher than it has ever been for any release ever, kind of thing.
Yeah.
They were up against an impossible situation. However, I do think possibly the issue here is just kind of the lack of a response of what are you doing about it, kind of thing. In a sense of, like, what I think we need them to be, what people need to hear is we need them to say, we are producing this many cards a month and we are distributing them thusly. So here is our projection for how we are getting the cards out there to people, rather than just saying we're working on it, kind of thing. And I don't know if they were doing that already because I don't hold them, but this is kind of like the problem that the Fall Guys had with hackers when that first came out. Is they kept saying we're working on it, and we're just like, but when though? When is your patch coming out? That's what we need to hear. When is the patch? And that's the thing is, it's just saying that you're working on it doesn't help anyone. We know of course you're working on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That goes without saying. What we need is an ETA. So all the people that are sitting there with their wallets open going, I'm waiting to build my computer. When can I build my computer? You can, if you say, look, it's going to take us 2 months to fulfill these orders, then I can say, fine, I will either buy a different graphics card or I will close my wallet for 2 months. Yeah. However, when you're just saying we're working on it, that doesn't help me judge whether I should build today or in 2 months, kind of thing. So yeah, that's the thing. I understand that they were in an impossible situation, but
yeah, absolutely.
You gotta give us something to work with. That's the thing.
I think it's the case that with the also the sustained demand, just because there has been sustained high demand all year, and because there's been high demand all year, and there hasn't been a quiet time, they have had no opportunity to build up surplus stock.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of.
I mean, it must ease at some point. At some point, surely, the rush will die down.
Well,
it was like with the toilet paper shortage at the start of lockdown. I was just like, at some point, everyone is going to say, "No, I've got enough toilet paper stashed in my cupboard. I don't need to buy any more." At some point, everyone had 200 rolls in their ironing cupboard and was just like, no, I'm not going to buy it as soon as it hits the shelf. I've got enough. At some point, someone is going to say, I've got my 30 series card. I don't need to buy it.
Yeah, so, absolutely. But yes, I think, I think either what's going to happen is it's going to be a case of the demand decreases, or that fabs see such a continued demand and for long enough that they have time
to ramp up.
Not to ramp up, they're already running it probably 100% anyway, basically. But a case of actually new fabs come on board. Actual new fabs get built.
Oh, I see, yeah.
If this demand maintains for another year, this level of demand, we'll see more people making more silicon. So the capacity to manufacture increases. So the effective relative demand reduces. So that's what I'm expecting.
Fair enough.
So it's kind of... I have no idea.
Yeah. A couple of people said you should do a proper water cooled build. I do want to do that, actually. I really want to get into custom water cooling. The problem is it's really expensive.
Yeah.
However, I want to do some really cheap ass custom water cooling loops.
Yes.
A couple of people, well, one guy from the Discord He picked up a cheap Chinese water cooling loop setup. It cost him like £80 refurbished with a radiator, pump reservoir, and a CPU block and some hosing for it. And I'm like, I want to get in on that because it's not going to be the best water cooling, but it just means that you can try it out and you can get into it. Because we did that. I've done one water cooling build with Caradog on his one, and I used to be into water cooling. I used to do custom loops. This was back in like 2005 though, you know, and I really want to be back in on that scene. It's a really expensive scene to be on. That's the problem.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also it's expensive to do for virtually no benefit unless you're doing balls to the walls overclocking, which I can't be bothered to do.
Yeah. The thing I am going to do is I'm probably going to buy a bunch of stuff from AlphaCore soon. A bunch of water cooling stuff from there, just because they have a B-stock website.
Oh, right.
So they sell off their B-stock.
That sounds cool.
And I'm just going to buy basically all of the stuff off of their B-stock website and just see what happens.
All right.
Because it's like, this one has a dented fin on the radiator. And I'm like, oh no, one dented fin on a radiator.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Please take off 97% of the price.
Okay.
Okay, I will pay you £6 for this radiator.
Is that actually the kind of discounts we're talking about?
One of them was like £6 or something, and I was just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to buy that when I get
Yeah,
home.
okay, yeah, you got my attention then. Because I was going to say, the problem is a lot of refurb stuff is like 5% off kind of thing.
Oh,
like,
no, it's
and
like...
you're like, okay, that's slightly cheaper, but that doesn't solve the core issue of it being very expensive.
Yeah, but it was like 40, 50, 60% off in general.
Damn, bro.
So I'm just like, I'm going to look at all of that stuff and buy a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah.
They had an interesting case on there as well, and I was just like,
all right, yeah.
Let's grab this.
Let me know.
Because
I'm
discounts.
I'm interested in that.
I'm just like...
Also, I just want to quickly reply to Luke Page's comment about that. About is an ironing cupboard that something that everyone has. I meant the airing cupboard. You know, like where your hot water cylinder is and stuff. I just couldn't remember the name of an airing cupboard. So yes, I called it an ironing cupboard because an iron is also a hot thing.
It's one stands...
Laundry.
One stands in the cupboard in irons.
Yeah.
You know,
Like the ironing room.
Yes.
Do you not have your room dedicated for ironing?
Yes. Do you not have the thing on the wall that has, your little iron mount so you can hang your iron up in it?
I wonder if NVIDIA will use TSMC 7nm. I thought they were, but they're using Samsung 7nm.
Samsung 8mm.
Samsung 8
nanometer.
Yeah.
Nanometer.
Yeah.
Although there was a rumour that came via DigiTimes saying that NVIDIA is going to swap to TSMC 7nm for 2021. I don't know how much credence I put in that, or how much weight I put in that, only because I'd imagine that 100% of TSMC 7nm is bought by AMD for PS5, Xbox Series X, Series S, Ryzen 5000, and Navi 2. AMD is going to have bought basically all of TSMC's fab space for 7nm.
Yeah.
Even if they don't think they're going to sell it, they're going to have already bought it and just gone, no, make all of this. All of it. Literally everything.
Yeah, especially because also AMD knows that when they have excess of stuff, they can just spin up a B version of it, like the 3100 and the 3300X. You know, if you've got an excess of stock, you can just literally bill it as just a slightly cheaper thing and just flog it all off, and it'll sell like hotcakes.
Yeah.
So yeah, literally, it's just they can't have too much fab space. That's not a problem that they can possibly suffer. Yeah. 5nm, they're experimenting with it. All of 5000 is 7nm, isn't it? Yeah. 5nm, they're gonna have. I think they're gonna struggle with that because of heat density. 7nm is having issues with heat density as it is.
No idea.
Yeah.
We've not seen products, so obviously can't particularly
the reason why I say that is just Ryzen 3000 CPUs. They are surprisingly difficult to cool. They're not. I say difficult, but they're not as easy as they should be. Because considering you have chiplets in the CPU, it should be really easy to get the heat out of the chip. But it's surprisingly difficult because of heat density, which is a problem that normally I would say you'd have with Intel because of the monolithic die. Where on an Intel CPU, the reason why the Intel 9th gen was such a hot pocket was because you had an enormous amount of wattage in a tiny, tiny little square right in the center of the chip. And you had to extract like 200 watts of heat from a tiny 5x5mm spot in the middle of the chip. That's why they were so difficult to cool. Not because of the amount of wattage. The heat wattage is easy to deal with. We've got great coolers.
Yeah.
But you've got to get all of that heat out of such a tiny spot. That's the difficulty.
Yeah.
AMD, with their chiplet design, you've got the heat coming from multiple points on the chip. So you shouldn't have that issue, right? But the problem is that those multiple points are even smaller than the Intel is. So that's the issue. And I think that's going to be a big enemy of 5nm.
All of TSMC's 5mm fab space has been bought by Apple.
Oh, yeah.
For the iPhone and the iPad.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it.
All of it.
All right. What's TSMC stock like these days? Like, seriously, TSMC, you know, they're just like the holy grail of get your chips made here right now.
Yeah, basically. So it's just kind of like, yeah.
Oh, that's closed. Yeah, that's fine. I was going to say, I opened it up and it just had a cliff edge going poof. And I'm like, I hope not.
TSMC reports going bust
Yeah.
somehow, even though, you know, 2 major manufacturers are just like, we want all of what you can make and more. We demand 150% more capacity than you have. So it's just like, yeah.
Anyone in the UK replacing an LG 1151 on a motherboard? Bleh. Buy a new motherboard for the amount of hassle that would be, I'd imagine.
Yeah, just
buy a new motherboard.
Secondhand on eBay, probably.
That'd have to be a pretty special motherboard to be worth replacing an LGA on it.
What's the 5-year trial?
Otherwise, what are you dealing with? Bent pins? Because bent pins you can deal with. Oh wow, that 5-year slope on TSMC.
Good lord!
I tell you, when I reckon TSMC, they must have like a red telephone in the CEO's office that goes to Lisa Su. Because like you look at the stock price of TSMC and it's just like when AMD started making their chips on that, you know, TSMC stock just went woo. So yeah, it literally must be just Lisa Su are just like, more chips please, and you know, yeah. Well then. I'm literally just going to flash that up for a sec. HDMI catcher, yeah. Just for the record, there's the TSMC 5-year stock. So yeah,
just
woo lad.
Oh dear. It's a bit
well
mad, but yeah.
Let's see what else is going on. Can you see anything interesting in the chat at the moment? Not to say you guys are not interesting. I'm looking for interesting questions.
Yeah. No, just mentioning VR. A case of.
Oh yeah. I was nearly ready to get into VR. I've mentioned this to you before, but I'll say it again for the sake of the show. I really, really liked the look of the Oculus Quest because the Oculus Quest, although it's basically a mobile device, the word on the wire is that with a little bit of homebrewing, you could easily set it up to stream VR games from Steam over wireless. So you would have a modest, untethered VR setup from Steam.
Yeah.
And it's not that expensive either. And I was kind of ready to start saying, you know, I think I might buy an Oculus Quest. But then Facebook rolled in with the, no, now you must log into Facebook to use Oculus stuff. And they're being really horrible about it. So I'm like, no, Oculus is now dead.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, I'm going back to the VR is too expensive camp. You know, like stuff like the Steam Index, the Valve Index looks amazing.
Yeah.
Do I want to pay for it? I'm not that into it.
Yeah, I think also part of it for me is I've got the space to do full big room scale VR. I have that space if I clean out, you know, stuff. But I'm kind of going, when I play a game, I don't actually want to walk around and poke at stuff and jump up and down and do things.
Yeah.
I'm playing games because I want to not do anything right now. Kind of thing. I'm kind of like, the point of me playing games is to actually just unwind and not do anything.
Yeah.
So for me, for playing games, it's kind of
For me,
not really.
For me, I still want VR for a seated experience. I've said this since day one of the first Oculus dev kits. I've always said I want it so I can play a racing game where obviously you're in the game, you're sitting in a racing car, so I don't need to move around the room because you're just sitting in a car looking around corners and stuff like that. Or like one of the other things I saw was Elite Dangerous, because in Elite Dangerous, the game's user interface is arranged around you in the cockpit of your spaceship, and when you open up like your mission brief and things like that, your camera pans down to look to a console on the left, because part of the game is that you can't see out of the cockpit while you're looking at a screen, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Elite Dangerous VR means that you can be sort of looking around, doing your flight yoke and stick and all the rest of it, and you can look down at that and then look out the cockpit window, and like when the spaceship goes above your head, you could be like, oh, there he goes, kind of thing. That's what I want from VR.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
me, walking around a room doesn't make much sense because there's no travel, so to speak.
Yeah.
So the seated arrangement is the only thing I care about, and that's why I've always been more interested in the headsets rather than the controllers and being able to pick stuff up. I'm like, I don't need any of that. I just want to be able to look around in a game.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a case that with that, it's a bit of both. I think looking at it from a kind of a party games point of view, I call them party games.
Yeah.
But that kind of thing. And also a case of something to use when you specifically want to jump and run around. I think maybe if you had one, you kind of go, yeah, let's do that. I mean, I feel like the poster child of VR is Beat Saber.
Yeah, sure.
And it's a case of when you want to jump and flail around and do stuff like that, you want to do it, so it will make sense, but you will only have that want to do it when you already own the stuff, kind of thing. I feel it's one of those chicken and egg desire kind of things, and you just kind of have to bite the bullet and buy it, and then go, I'll want it after I bought it, kind of thing. Yeah. So to me, that seems like a slightly risky proposition. And I think also if it happened, I think if I got it, I would mostly be using it with racing games, with driving games.
Yeah.
And it's then a case of it's kind of going, spending all that money on getting all the base stations and stuff. Seems kind of like a waste.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. I don't know. I don't know if I care.
I think another good use of it can sometimes just be stuff like VR chat as well, which might seem really paltry to some people, but like certainly in these uncertain times where we're not allowed to go and see our friends, and also just the fact that these days a lot of us, we got friends who are from all over the world and we can't meet up and hang out together. And stuff like VR chat actually has a lot of mileage in it for being able to sit in a virtual house party looking at, especially like in the furry community as well, where they've all had their characters made up. You don't have to take it there, but you can if you want. However,
you don't have to take it in the furry community. There's just a high probability that you will.
You're terrible. However, what I was going to say, and now you're going to feel awful, is, I've got a friend who their sight is about that much, basically. That's about how far they can see. So obviously for them, even with whatever glasses you like, they can't see more than that far in front of their eyes.
Yeah.
However, put a VR headset on and they can see to infinity.
Yeah. And
so for them, VR, obviously they're like, with a VR headset, I can see. Yeah. How about them apples? Kind of thing.
Absolutely. No.
And so that's the thing and Paige brought up an interesting thing where Paige said sort of, for me, I would use it too much as escapism, and it would be too much escapism, vicious circle of not dealing with real life because you want to escape too much. Absolutely. The struggle is real, and that's the way it is for all video games to an extent. You've got to do everything in moderation. However, to a certain extent, obviously, you can do that to achieve the things that you can't do in real life. But also, sometimes you can do that to alleviate real life as well. You can get that stress, you can get that relief of saying, I hung out with friends in VR chat and I had a really good time, and now I'm relaxed and I feel ready to face work and stuff like that. Because that's exactly what rest and relaxation is supposed to be, is to relax enough that when it's time to go back to work, you're like, I'm rested and I'm ready to get some work done, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I say, there's lots of mileage in all kinds of aspects of that, I think.
I very much like it. I just haven't got round to it. I think that's ultimately the answer.
Yeah.
I just haven't got round to buying it.
Yeah.
Because
I'm waiting for one to be affordable enough that I can impulse buy it.
Yeah, I know I'm going to buy one, but I just haven't got round to it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of also the case where I keep kind of going, or I could not spend the money, kind of thing. And it's all of that. So I'm just like...
Yeah. Yeah. I haven't actually seen Ready Player One. However, we're never going to have anything like that anytime relevant. Maybe in 100 years or something. Who knows what the future holds? Not in our lifetime, basically.
Yeah. It's also my disappointment is how mediocre they made the film compared with all of the potential in the book.
I heard and read enough about Ready Player One to look at that and go, I don't care, and didn't watch it basically. But yeah,
it's a shame that they went kind of with all of the story and so on. So
yeah,
but people,
yeah, let's see.
It.
There was a couple that I saw. Yeah, whatever. Talk about PC repair businesses that con people. I'm not going to get too much into a discussion about that. However, yeah, one of the frustrating things about the PC repair business is that there are a lot of cowboys out there. There's two quick things that I'll say on this, which is why I picked it out before we move on, because I don't like talking smack about other businesses. That's not professional, in my opinion. Instead of criticizing others, I'd rather work on being better myself, kind of thing. However, the two things that I'll point out is, it's very frustrating because a lot of the time you have someone who is not local to you and has a problem with their computer, and you want to say to them, take it to your local computer repair shop. This will be a doddle for them to fix, but you don't know if their local computer repair shop is a cowboy or not.
Yeah,
really annoying because there's lots of times where you like someone's computer, it just needs a BIOS reset, but they have no ability to do that themselves, and you're like, literally any computer repair shop can fix this in 5 minutes, but you don't know if they're going to get charged £100 for it. So that's frustrating. And the other thing as well is also to sometimes keep an open mind, because everyone's got a horror story about someone. And that's the thing. It's just like now and then I have a falling out with a customer, and there's going to be people out there who will say, I had a terrible experience with Adamant IT. And they probably did, because the job went wrong. It happens. Now and then jobs go wrong. And the customer service level that you provide was abysmal because something happened. The job fell apart, something went wrong, and it happens. We don't like it, but it happens sometimes. So the other thing as well is to always keep an open mind when you've heard about things. And it's the same as anything. When someone says they had a terrible experience with something, be skeptical and say, what happened? What went wrong? Why do you think it was a bad experience? It's the same reason as why, when I get comments on sometimes I get comments on the YouTube videos and people go, amateur. And generally speaking, literally, I have someone said that today. There was a comment that just said amateur, and I generally don't engage with it anymore just because I've got better things to do. But one of the things that I want to say is to be like, why do you think so? What do you think is wrong? Yeah. What did I do that you thought was amateurish? Tell me about that, because you might say something and I'll be like, that's a good point. I'm going to take that into consideration. So it's like, be skeptical, but have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my inspirational speech for the day.
And I think just to piggyback on the back of that is, if you are saying something isn't as good as it could be to someone, have a reason.
Yeah.
Actually say what is wrong with it.
Yeah.
If you can't pin a reason, maybe it's not terrible and it's just not for you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, there's kind of those two things. But if you are providing critique, try and actually have a specific thing.
Yeah. Let's see. A monitor mount for 3 27-inch screens. Oof. I don't know if such a thing exists. Personally, if I were trying to mount up 3 27-inch screens, I'd go for 2 mounts. I don't know if I would trust a single mount to take that kind of load.
I also probably, just for me, because I'm me, would go with 3 single arm mounts anyway.
Yeah, I have to admit,
dual arm mounts just hack me off now. I've had I've had 2 different brand ones, and both of the times they'll just be a bit squiffy. They'll be at a slight angle, or one of the arms will just droop slightly compared to the other one, or it will rotate ever so slightly on one of the mounts. And no matter how much tightening, twiddling, adjusting, moving, and so on, one of the screens will always just go,
Yeah.
or will go, or it will just wobble. So you mouse quickly on the desk because you're doing
And the
something,
screens wobble,
and suddenly one of the screens will wobble, and then it will just stay off to the side. It's just like,
I lucked out on the dual arm mount that I use at home. Don't ask me what it is. I have no idea. I bought it years ago on Amazon. I have no idea what brand it is. It wasn't even an expensive one. But I lucked out on mine, and touch wood, it's actually there's a little bit of sag over time now that I've got 227s on it. Yeah. But come on, there's 227-inch monitors on it.
Yeah,
I think it's only rated for 24s as well. So I'm just like, you know what, I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you for me having to just go, oop, on my monitors once a month.
Yeah, absolutely.
But however, I agree. If you're on a setup as serious as triple 27 inches, I would be going either a double and a single, or actually, I would probably go 3 singles, as you pointed out.
Or if you're buying the triple ones, or like the ones for the 6-screen setups.
Oh yeah.
You know, like the pre-built kit ones for that.
Something actually
you're gonna be buying like 600, 700, 800 pounds worth of stand and stuff. Oof, because it's gonna be expensive, because it needs to be really good. So it's kind of a case of, you get to the point where it's going to be really expensive. It's also probably going to be reasonably specific in the monitors it accepts, because it's probably going to have a reasonably narrow tolerance for bezel sizes and things like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Indeed. The SIFT 69, nice. Is a 750 watt PSU enough for a fairly high-end gaming PC? As long as it's a good brand, I would say yeah. 750 is enough for a 3080, isn't it? If we've decided, or are we going sort of?
I think so.
800.
I'm just trying to remember actual power draw figures.
Same.
I think the 1390 hit 400 watts.
Yeah.
So it's a case of anything. So 400 watts on that, we'll say, is a round figure. Plus, we'll say a round figure of 200 watts on your CPU.
So that's 600.
You're at 600. So.
Yeah, 750.
That's rounded up numbers, so 750 is going to be fine.
Good quality 750, absolutely fine.
Yeah.
And by good quality, so, Corsair RMX, Be Quiet, Seasonic, FSP, decent brands. And
EVGA's higher end stuff.
EVGA's higher end stuff. At least 80 plus gold. Because if you go for a bronze on that, it's going to be a hot boy at 750 watts.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Basically something that's got a 80 plus gold badge on it. So yeah. Let's see. Andy Dawson, I missed my question. I'll miss a lot of questions here, I'm afraid. I do what I can.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, you might want to just bash that in again, because it's scrolled off the screen, and I'm not going to scroll back for it now. Let's see.
So yeah, someone's saying about a 550 watt bronze for a 3070. I've not seen actual 3070 real life power draw figures from someone other than Nvidia.
Yeah.
So I couldn't particularly comment. I would guess that, again, if it's a good bronze PSU, it might be okay. But I've not seen hard and fast figures.
I think it will be, because if we extrapolate, so again, this is an estimate. We have not looked at hard figures.
Yeah.
If the 3090 is up to 400, then let's say that the 3080 is probably going to be 350 to 400. So the 3070 is probably not going to be more than 300 realistically.
I would peg it at 300.
Yeah.
For ease of maths.
Yeah. So let's say the 3070 is probably going to be around 300 watts. So yeah, take that, slap another 150 on for a modest CPU of the same kind of area. So that's 300, 450 on your CPU and your graphics card. On a 550, that gives you 100 watts left over for overhead. So again, as long as it's a good quality one.
Yeah, as long as it can actually do 550 on the 12 volt rail.
550 on the 12 volt. So look at the side of your power supply, and you'll see that table with all the figures on it. You'll have 3.3 volts, 5 volts, 12 volts, 5 VSB, and so on. Look for the plus 12 volt, and make sure that it's doing at least 550 on the 12 volt rail, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
I have. If you want to know more about that, I've got a video called "Why This PSU Is Crap." I think.
Yeah.
I'll look it up while we're talking. And that is a video where I actually explain how you can look at the side of a power supply and make a rough judge of if it's any good or not. So yeah. You do the super chat while I look that up.
WB gives us £5. The algorithm blessed me with your videos. Love watching them, dude. Keep up the good work. Blessed. Good lord.
You sound like Big Man Tyrone. Is it Big Man Tyrone? You know the guy on Fiverr? Do you know who I'm talking about?
I'm attempting to look blank and not understand. I genuinely have no idea what you're referring to.
Hang on a sec. Tyrone. Is it Big Man Tyrone? It is Big Man Tyrone. You must have seen this guy. You must have seen pictures of him before. You can pay him, you can pay him like, he's not a Fiverr anymore because he's a superstar, but he used to be on Fiverr, and you could pay this guy, a Fiverr to do any kind of speech. You just sent him the text and he would read it out with a picture on the monitor. And he's just got a particular attitude to him where he's just like, you will buy this today and it will make your life very good. Kind of thing. And your mannerisms sounded a lot like Big Man Tyrone. It made me chuckle. So yes. We cut. He's probably got Eve content. We're not looking up.
He does. I know, because I suddenly remembered, and I was just like,
yeah.
Someone commissioned him to do Eve video stuff.
Okay, yeah.
I was just like, yes, I suddenly remembered that.
As much as I would love to, we cannot sit and watch Big Man Tyrone videos right now, though.
No.
Right, we should probably go back and read the chat.
Absolutely.
Cool. Right. Let's see. 3090 with a Core 2 quad? No. Moving on.
No.
3070 is around 220 watts. Really? Okay, that's lower than I thought it would be. According to Captain White, it's about 220 watts. Obviously, check other figures as well. One man on the internet is not a source. No offense, Captain White. However, sounds like it might be lower than we thought. Let's see. 3070 total consumption for a 3070. Okay, see, that's a much different figure. That's a very different figure. 370 watts. Although, wait, 370 watts total consumption. Is that 370 for the whole computer? That sounds more like it there.
I think it's a case of still very much a case of you need to actually look at specific figures for that specific card.
Yeah.
So,
Has my FX 8350 and R9 280X got life left? Well, as per previous things we've said, if it does what you need it to do, then yes. However, no. I would be looking to replace that.
Yes.
However, if it still does what you need it to do, yes. However, if you replace that with modern equipment, it would change your world.
Yeah, absolutely. I would presume, and I'm purely presuming, that an FX 8350 could be replaced by literally anything in the last year and be faster. Just a case of we've had that much progress in the past couple of generations.
4th gen Intel destroys the FX series, and that's obviously 2014 hardware. So basically, anything you buy today will basically destroy your current system. Have you ever used a metadata USB swapping ISO host used for housing ISOs both? No. I think what he's referring to is a USB device. That can, because normally if you're making, for example, like you can't have a flash drive that has macOS installations on it and Windows installations on it at the same time, or Windows and Linux installers on it at the same time and stuff like that. And I think what he's suggesting, or Alex Nerve, aka Nerve, is saying that this is software that allows you to have like one drive that's got it all on there. Interesting idea. However, I would have separate devices for that for two reasons. Is that A, if your magic drive that's got everything on goes down, you've got nothing. And if you're actually doing this at a professional level, like in my shop, I've got 3 Windows 10 drives as it is. just because I might have 1 or 2 computers that are installing or updating Windows 10 at any given time. So if I had a one drive does everything, then that thing would have a queue a mile long. So you'd want multiples. So I would run separate drives anyway for both redundancy and just the ability to multitask.
Yeah,
so
I think it'd be one of those things. It'd be useful to have one that did everything, and then several bits that do individual things.
Possibly a magic OneDrive does all would be good as part of a as a carry toolkit. So if you're doing site work, for example, where you're not multitasking. So interesting idea. Not something that I think is particularly useful though. Just because, flash drives are cheap. Just have 3 flash drives would be my opinion there.
And also because flash drives are cheap, they wear out reasonably quickly.
Yeah.
So it's better.
Well.
Arguably, it's better to have a less expensive device that you know is going to wear out anyway, so you can afford to replace it.
Yeah, agreed. Andy Dawson, I watched your video on updating the Gigabyte BIOS that went wrong. When you removed the BIOS chips to swap them, why didn't you program them in the IC programmer? At the time when I was making that video, I didn't have the BIOS programmer. I actually bought the BIOS programmer specifically as a result of that motherboard because I realized that was something that I needed in my toolkit. That's why I didn't do it in that original video. I didn't have the programmer at the time. I just simply swapped the chips over because just to reverse them. That whole motherboard was just generally a bit of a mess. It wasn't like I made lots of mistakes while working on that motherboard. However, based on the comments section on that video, I'm not the only one who had problems with it. So, that's about that really. NVIDIA website says 220 for the 3070 with a 650 watt PSU recommendation. That sounds sensible. So you could do it on a 550 because they're going to say 650 because NVIDIA don't know if your power supply is a tin box or not. So a decent 550, that sounds like a decent 550 will be absolutely fine for a 3070.
Assuming it does 550 on the 12 volt.
Yes, precisely.
Which is the thing they can't tell. Or if you've got the noodly ones that have no braiding on the cables or anything.
Yeah.
So it's just rainbow cables.
Right.
It's RGB when you can have rainbow power supplies.
I'm going to jump down the chat. Hello, Adam from South Africa. Yes, we do have PCs. Good. Hello. That's all I have to say about that. I'm sorry.
Sorry, there was any doubt at any point that South Africa had computers?
They do. In Joburg. Have you had to repair USB flash drives fake size? I've never seen one of those fake flash drives that just overwrites itself. I know that they exist, but I've never actually seen one before. I'd love to know how they're made because it's when they first appeared on the market, a lot of people, high-end tech people were like, I'm not angry, I just want to know how you did it. Because that's really smart. Just leave it to the scam artists to come up with a solution so ingenious it begs the question: if you're this smart, why didn't you just make a legitimate product? Because the fake product is more intelligent than the real thing, and you're just like, whatever.
Yeah, basically, it's just also just the fact of if you put that much effort into it, was it really overall still cheaper than just selling a real one?
Yeah. Jan Robert Nagard wants to know what the bottom red video card is. That's that one, I think. Hold on a sec. This looks like... what do you reckon that is, Hugh? I think that's a...
video card.
Thanks. I think it's an AMD. I think it's a 9600.
I have absolutely no idea.
Neither do I, because it doesn't say on the label. Am I going to Google search these numbers?
Well, it's got S-Video out.
Yeah. It's also got a Discord badge attached to it at the moment. I tell you what. Find something interesting in the chat. I'm going to find out what this card is. It's AGP as well, actually, I just noticed.
Hey.
Yeah.
Good lord. That makes it reasonably old.
Yeah.
Man. I can just about remember when AGP 4 graphics cards came in. I remember it was before I had an actual computer that would care about, the improved performance and stuff from AGP. But I just remember it being a thing in the magazines I was reading at the time, and people just kind of going, "Oh my god, faster graphics cards!" And also just the fact that it was no longer It was bidirectional, so you could have communication happening in both directions at the same time. And just stuff like that, just being shock, horror. But yes.
Neither of these numbers mean anything at all, so we'll never know. Actually, I could take the cooler off. I'll take the cooler off.
Oh gosh, we're going deep down the rabbit hole now.
Yeah, apparently that's what we're doing. But
the rabbit hole has been
if you expected
started.
a structured professional show, you're in the wrong podcast. So
Absolutely. But yes.
Yeah.
Sambo sends in a super chat of Leet.
Cool. I still think Leet is cool. It's 1337. I get it.
Yes,
I think that's awesome.
Of £13.37. Would you ever consider changing your name to Adam via Depol to prevent any further confusion?
No.
Oh, you've actually cut it. That also says NVIDIA.
I didn't cut it. They're push pins.
I thought you cut off the pins. Yeah. Oh, Lord.
No.
Oh.
What kind of savage do you think I am? However, I was completely wrong. It's a GeForce 4 Ti.
Wait, what?
That's what it says on the chip. GeForce 4 Ti.
Oh my God.
Or did you know it's actually pronounced Ti? This is kind of like a GIF thing. NVIDIA have... Did you not hear about this? NVIDIA said it's pronounced... Ti... NVIDIA said it's pronounced Ti.
But it was short for titanium.
Yes, Ti. I'm serious. I'm dead serious. NVIDIA said it's Ti.
I guess. I guess.
Yeah.
But still.
And everyone collectively did that thing that Nick Fury did in Avengers Assemble, where he said, I have heard the council's decision and I've decided it's a stupid decision, so I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
So everyone university said, we hear you, NVIDIA. We're still going to call it a TI. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, so yes, the 1660 Ti.
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I mean, I guess it sounds like a real fighter of a graphics card.
Anyway, it's a GeForce 4. A real fighter. Well done.
Hey!
I'll give you a golf clap. There we go.
But yes. Also, just remember when GeForce 4 was also a chipset.
That was Enforce.
Oh, Enforce. Yes.
Enforce. Yep.
Remember when Enforce were chipsets?
Yeah. They were also... Enforce chipsets were baller, man.
At 25 watts.
Probably, yeah.
And the only way you could get SLI was with your Enforce 400 chipset.
Indeed.
For the whole 6 people in the world who cared.
Yeah. Hello, G-Lord. Have you ever had a death micro SD card that was not recognized in Windows or other OS? And if you successfully recover data from it? Thanks for Amazon affiliate link for a Bench PSU. You're very welcome, and thank you very much as well. Dead micro SD card that's not recognized in Windows or other OS. What are you dealing with here? Is it appearing as RAW, or does the computer not see that it's connected at all? Or is it seeing a storage device of 0 megabytes? If you've got like RAW or something like that, that's something you might be able to deal with. If it's seeing a removable disk of 0 megabytes, you're screwed. And if it's not detected at all, you're probably screwed. I am not a data recovery specialist, but basically, if you're seeing a 0 megabyte drive or nothing at all, then you probably need to send it to a lab. So Drive Savers or whatever data recovery company you want to use needs to go to a lab, basically. And at that point, you need to ask your client, how badly do you want that data? So, yeah.
Also, something backups, something.
Yeah, well, it's easy to say that, but people don't.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. But it's a case of saying however, it now for people who hopefully don't need it now.
Friendly reminder, everyone in the chat, do you back up your computer? If you don't back up your data, you don't have your data.
You never had your car.
Yep. You never had your... That's exactly what I mean. You never had your data. You never had your computer. Hands up in the chat who knows what that's referencing. Let's see. Oh, NVIDIA is wrong too. Titanium is Latin and should be pronounced Thai like Tim. Should be Tim or
Tim.
It's
a T.
T. I don't know.
T.
I'm moving on from that one. Use HDD recovery services. He has a YouTube channel. Sounds good. Worth checking out. As I say, I'm not a data recovery specialist. I'm the wrong person to ask. Greetings from Colombia. You've been quite helpful. Thank you very much, my dude. Greatly appreciate it.
Yes.
You back up your backup. Good. Let's see. Old stuff and backups. Yeah. What else? That's everything that's in chat at the moment. Is there any news at the moment?
AMD buying a company whose name I've forgotten, who was a very large supplier of Nvidia.
Oh, yeah, AMD.
Give them 2 seconds.
Yeah, who did they buy? I saw that and I was like, oh, hello. Wasn't ARM. Shit.
Oh no, where's it gone?
Who did they buy? AMD bought. I saw that as well. AMD bought by Xilinx.
Xilinx.
Yeah.
Yes.
AMD bought Xilinx. Why? What do AMD want with Xilinx?
Xilinx make
FPGAs. Yeah.
Oh my god.
But AMD don't do anything with FPGAs.
FPGA are big in the server space, and AMD wants to be big in the server space.
Ah.
So.
Okay.
That basically.
Yeah.
But yes, I find it quite interesting because apparently Xilinx is quite a large supplier of stuff that Nvidia does. Oh. So technically AMD is now becoming an Nvidia supplier.
Well, that's the funny thing. That's the way it all works. Everyone's in bed with each other and they're suing each other during the day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, with Disney buying Marvel and so on, Deadpool's now a Disney princess.
Yeah. And that's okay. Yeah, so yeah, okay, well that was a thing then. So they bought Xilinx.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's kind of interesting.
It's also a lot of money.
It's
a lot of money.
Whoa, 35 billion, yeah. Well, that's the thing. FPGAs are expensive, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's all I know about them. They're freaking expensive. But for those of you who don't know, FPGAs, I can't remember what it stands for. FPGA, it stands for Field Programmable Gate Array. And it's kind of like a flat pack processor, where the processor is basically just filled with transistors or gates, and you program it via software to behave in any way you want. So think of an FPGA think of it like a maze, where you've got a maze with a start and an end. However, by default, an FPGA is just a grid with no path through it. You program it and you create the path that you want through your maze, and then it will execute in the way that you have programmed it. So this basically means that you can have a processor that will do one thing very, very well. It's from a family like an ASIC is a type of FPGA, an application-specific processor. And what that does is it runs one program really carefully. You could loosely say that NVIDIA NVENC, so NVIDIA's video processing on their graphics cards, in a way that is based on an ASIC where there's a section of the chip that just runs a video processing program. That's all it does. It processes video. That's the only thing it does. And so it means that you can have an incredibly specialized chip that does just one thing. Now, in the server space or in enterprise or in infrastructure, this is really important because, for example, let's say you've got an enormous telephone switching box. You've got a box that handles, 10,000 phone calls every second. You don't want that running on a CPU. CPU's not quick enough. You have an FPGA in there whose only job in life is just to sort out what phone call goes to where. So that's what these things are doing. And so, server space, that makes absolute sense.
Very sort of fixed function.
Fixed function, very, very, very expensive. These chips can cost thousands or tens of thousands each just for a chip. So that's why that the merger was 35 billion, because there's so much money wrapped up in that.
But it's interesting that they paid, because NVIDIA recently bought an FPGA company. Well, I say recently, 2 years ago, I think, 18 months ago. And they paid about a tenth of that price.
A tenth? Yeah. So it wasn't Xilinx, was it? Because Xilinx are the FPGA people. They make the biggest and most badass FPGAs.
So it's just going to be...
one of the pictures that immediately came up on a search for FPGA was just the Xilinx Spartan, Xilinx Spartan, that is a very powerful, very common FPGA chip, and it's pretty damn expensive, I believe. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then obviously Nvidia got ARM. So yeah, that's obviously
Or
Nvidia's
at
move
least
into that.
potentially.
Well, yeah, if it gets approved, I assume.
I don't know how that's going to go because it's kind of a case of ARM are very much a neutral party in the entirety of the processing world, and it's
Does
kind of it's kind of going to be interesting to see how they can wrangle that with the regulators to maintain that kind of neutrality, and to how they're going to kind of guarantee that neutrality going forwards. So yeah, it's I don't know. I feel that getting the regulator approval is going to be more difficult than Nvidia stumping up the money.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fair. One of the things I was just quickly looking at, I was just curious as to whether Xilinx were fabless or whether they have their own fabrication facilities.
Oh yeah, interesting.
Because that presents an interesting thing, is if Xilinx have their own fabs, then I wonder if this is possibly AMD starting to make a move to have their own fabrication.
It seems like too much of a risk at the moment, considering how much difficulty we're having getting from 7nm to 5 and beyond.
Yeah.
And how much money TSMC is pouring into getting 5nm to beyond risk reduction and stuff. It's kind of a case of...
Yeah. No, they're fabless, so it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, the only company that is fully integrated like that is Intel.
Yeah. And ironically, to an extent, that's not working out very well for them right now.
Yeah. Which I guess is the first time in 50 years it hasn't.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
But
Intel owned Altera. Yeah, that's the one. Oh, no, that's not the one that Nvidia got. But yeah, sorry, ignore me. Intel owned Altera. That's interesting. I didn't know that. But yeah. Yeah, Altera, that's another brand I don't know much about FPGAs and stuff like that. However, I do recognize these brands. So yeah, that's interesting that Intel owned Altera.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah. Can you suggest a video card for video editing with a Ryzen 3600? You're not a gamer. What software are you using? If you're using Adobe Premiere, well, if you're in Premiere, it depends on what you need the graphics card to do. If you're looking for video accelerated editing, then there's not. I think it's only Premiere that has any kind of GPU accelerated editing. And that will only be with certain GPUs in very certain situations. The long and the short of it is not enough to be worth it. However, if you want the graphics card to do hardware accelerated exporting, so the final encode at the end, then if you're using basically either Premiere or DaVinci Resolve, then basically you want an NVIDIA graphics card. So minimum, I would be looking at something like a 1660, because that guarantees that you will have... The 1660 has the latest NVENC on it, doesn't it?
Yes, the standard 1660 does, as far as I'm aware.
Yeah, it's the 1650, which had the previous one on it, isn't it?
The standard, well, it might do. It depends on which version of the 1650 you get, because there are 3 versions of the same graphics card, all sold under the same name with different hardware.
Yes, however, the 1660 is the one above that one. So yeah, you don't want the 1660 is the answer. Buy a 1660. Yeah, and that's more or less the cheapest graphics card that you can get that will definitely support whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah, it's a case of you might possibly, for the like £5 it will be, just buy a 1660 Super, because they are so close in price right now.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yes. Thinking of getting a Razer Black Widow Elite or Razer Black Widow 2019. Not sure which one to get. Get the one you like the most. I think Black Widows are a bit overpriced myself. However, yeah, you'll end up with basically the same thing. It'll have the same switches in it and the same electronics and stuff like that. They'll be basically the same thing. So buy whichever one you prefer in terms of aesthetics and feature set. So if one of them has got particular layout or key location or particular style that you prefer, just go with that one. I wouldn't overthink it on that front, to be honest. Keyboards are not worth overthinking unless you're getting into the custom keyboard space and you want to get very specific switches and stuff like that, in which case you wouldn't be buying a Razer anyway.
DRAMless SSDs. Someone was saying about BX500.
Oh, yeah.
I never realised the BX500 was DRAMless until you mentioned it a couple of weeks ago.
Indeed. Because neither did I, and someone shouted at me for using BX500s.
And I was like,
and they were like,
it's the same speed as a CX500, basically, so...
Yeah. DRAMless...
I think it depends on the quality of the controller.
Yeah.
And especially if it's SATA, you're not going to
now,
much.
Certainly in the UK, I was buying the BX500 and using it for quite a while. However, then the MX500 dropped in price again. And now, as things currently stand, the MX500 is so cheap that it's a never not situation. For a couple of pounds more, you can get an MX500, which is basically the fastest SATA SSD you can get.
Yeah.
So it's just like... the BX500, it's not a terrible drive. You can buy one and you'll be absolutely fine. However, the MX500 is better and basically the same price in most places. Certainly, it's cheap enough in the UK that I wouldn't get anything other than an MX500 for a SATA SSD.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're going M.2, that's a different conversation. There's lots of options there. However, for 2.5-inch or SATA drives, just Crucial MX500.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that's also kind of the thing is certainly on the higher quality DRAMless ones. When you're actually testing it by loading programs, closing programs, playing games, doing things with your computer, I don't think people can tell the difference.
No.
I wouldn't put money on that right now because I've not tried it myself, but I would argue that 90-something% of people wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
See, most of the times when I'm using SSDs in the shop, especially 2.5-inch SATA SSDs, it's on someone's Acer laptop. It's the only drive that laptop is going to have, and the only other drive that's ever going to get connected to that is either an external hard drive for backup or a flash drive, neither of which is going to get anywhere near the speed of an SSD anyway. Now, if you're in a gaming PC where you're actually where you might be shunting around large files because you're moving games or something like that, and there's half a chance that there's going to be another SSD in the system, we can have a conversation there, because going from SSD to SSD, you're going to want better performing drives, and you're actually going to see the limits of those drives. At the very least, you can have a conversation.
You can at least actually see it, but it's still a kind of a case of, I guess, if you've got the money.
Yeah, but if it's a single drive computer or a laptop or something like that, I agree. I would wager that you will never actually see the ceiling of a BX500. Because most of the time you're just turning it on and using it and loading up programs. And that's not going to saturate the SL cache, I think it's called, that these DRAMless ones have.
So it's kind of...
Yeah, pretty much.
I would argue that in most cases, basically any SSD is good enough for most of the laptops and stuff it ends up in, because it's like it's a 2-core Pentium Gold.
Yeah. And the problem is when you're on really low end laptops, you actually become very CPU bound.
Yeah.
It seems hard to believe that you can become CPU bound when transferring stuff, but you really can. I've seen it happen. Very common on netbooks where you've got crappy, awful CPUs and solid state storage that is either even eMMC laptops. I've seen eMMC laptops that have a Pentium Gold in them, and the CPU was literally at 100% while accessing the storage.
Oh no!
Because and literally CPU bound while accessing the storage. It was terrible.
But eMMC has been replaced in mobile phones because it was too slow.
Yeah. Oh, you can still buy eMMC laptops. Because people will go out and they'll buy the cheapest laptop money can buy, and then they'll act surprised when you tell them that it's a really bad laptop. So, yeah.
It's a shame.
I'm going to follow up a couple of other questions. Who is that guy? Is he your friend or do you work together? This is Caradog Brody. He is my friend. We do sometimes work together, and he is also the other admin on the Discord.
Indeed.
I think that sums up our relationship, doesn't it?
Yes.
Or our association.
Okay.
I don't want to use the term relationship. What software do you use for video editing? I use Vegas 14. I don't necessarily recommend it. However, that's what I use.
You were looking at other software.
I need to learn DaVinci Resolve. Everyone says get Resolve. It's difficult to get into because it works differently. It's not a linear editing program, so it's got a very steep learning curve. However, everyone says once you get the hang of it, it's the place to be, and it's free. So why not?
And also, it seems to support more modern acceleration stuff.
Yeah, as I say, it's a very cutting edge software as well. Which key switches do you prefer? I use MX Browns. That's just what I get on with. So yeah, this guy can tell you all about key switches, but I was going to say that's
not even by half by comparison to like our mechanical keyboards.
Fair enough. Yeah, go to our mechanical keyboards. Yeah.
Yes, but I use Cherry MX Clears.
Yeah.
Which is a special one that, as far as I can tell, basically only ever made it into like 2 keyboard models ever.
Mm-hmm.
They're basically what's the description for the key where you've got the feedback but it hasn't got the intentional click?
Tactile.
They are heavy tactile switches.
Tactile, not clicky.
Yeah, they are tactile switches. And they are heavy tactile switches. They're something like 65 Nm. As opposed to the more typical sort of 45 or 50.
Fair enough.
Yes, I prefer a heavier key switch.
Recently experienced the 2011 iMac HDD to SSD nightmare. It's not really a nightmare. I mean, iMacs, once you know how to disassemble and reassemble iMacs, doing SSD swaps in them really isn't a big deal. However, all iMacs up to and including the 2019, because the 2019 iMac still has a hard drive in it.
As well, yeah?
Still has a hard drive in it.
As well as?
You can buy a Fusion version of it. The base model has a hard drive in it.
Oh.
Yeah. It's a £1,200 computer that doesn't have an SSD. Anyway, all iMacs, at least up to and including, let's say 2018, just to be safe, that have a hard drive in it, that hard drive will fail in the device's lifetime because the iMac runs very quiet and very warm, and it will cook its hard drive. So yeah, if you have an iMac that has not had an SSD retrofit done on it, you want to retrofit an SSD into that bad boy. And yeah, it's the first time you do it, there's a lot of gotchas to it. But yeah, I wouldn't say it's a nightmare, but then I've done so many of them now that it's easy peasy for me. However, yeah, I have seen it. I make a lot of money putting SSDs in iMacs. Let me put it that way. I do very well on those. Let's see. My graphics card has a noisy fan. Is that possible to fix? So do you mean as in it's spinning fast and making a lot of whoosh, or it's buzzing because the fan is shaking? If it's making a lot of whoosh, that is potentially a thermal issue, so you might want to just clean it out or adjust your fan curves. If it's actually buzzing because the fan is wobbling on its axis and it needs a new fan, it's really hard to find replacement fans. Usually when I do that, I just hunt around for an old graphics card that has a fan that's the same size, and I just kind of bodge it on somehow. I've got a video where I did that on if you search my channel for a 280X, I'll bring up the video now actually. I have actually done a video where I did this. Yeah, there it is. Let's open that up. I have a video where I did that. It's quite a long video because I did lots of investigations into that fan. But if you want to see how graphics card cooling works, that's a very interesting video that I've just linked in. It's up to you.
It also depends on the graphics card, because I know that for some of the 5700 XTs, they had pin pad fans, so you could literally just go and just pull the fan off, basically, and the entire assembly would come away with just 2 screws. And yeah, you could just lift it away, and you could just buy a new one off of, AliExpress or Banggood.
Okay, yeah.
And just go, ta-da, 2 screws, replaced.
Yep.
So it's a case of it very much varies by graphics card to
Fair
graphics
enough.
card.
Yeah.
But some of them, they've actually gone, fans fail after a while.
Yeah.
Let's make it easy to replace. So, yeah.
Sometimes they do. It depends on what kind of life the graphics card has had, and sometimes it is just luck of the draw as well, I suppose. Though.
Well, it's the only moving part, so it's kind of a case of mechanical failure is likely.
Yeah. Oh, you cringe when people say they intend to bootcamp Windows on their Mac and run Flight Sim. Yeah. just don't boot camp Macs anymore. Like, don't get me wrong, I used to daily drive a MacBook Pro. I know all about Apple, and I used to boot camp back in the day. These days, it's a matter of just don't. There's like, if you need Windows, then don't buy a Mac. It's that simple. Yeah. If you need Windows, then a Mac is not the right tool for the job. As soon as you're not running macOS on a Mac, it doesn't make sense to have a Mac. That's all I'm going to say on that, actually.
But also, why would you be trying to run Flight Sim on a Mac?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if there's actually any Macs out there that will be competent for Flight Sim, other than something like a Mac, maybe the iMac Pro, but that's a £5,000 computer. Why would you do that?
No, because it hasn't got the CPU for it.
No, it's got a Xenon.
Exactly.
A Xenon? A Xeon.
Yeah. Which isn't a gaming CPU.
Yeah, but it can do it though, surely.
If you're happy with like crappy frame rates and dodgy 1% lows.
Bummer.
Xeons aren't particularly great for gaming because they're big. And they have lots of ring connects.
I know they're not efficient at it, but yeah.
So it's kind of a case of their 1% lows are dodgy.
Fair enough.
But yes. Maybe you could spend $5,000 to get the same performance as £1,000 on Apple. Sure.
I have a Chinese keyboard and the switches suck. It has Content Blue, so a Temu clone. Oh god, it's got a clone of a clone. Because the Temus are basically MX clones. Which switches can I put in instead? It depends if they're soldered. Most likely, if it's a cheap keyboard, the switches are probably soldered in. However, in all likelihood, can I take this thing apart? In all likelihood, the switches will be of a standard type, where they are just 2-pin switches. And so if you're willing to actually desolder all of those switches and re-switch the entire keyboard, you can basically put in whatever you want. And I'm just going to destroy this thing in order to prove a point, just because then I can actually say, look, this is a keyboard switch. This is what they look like.
Oh, God.
What do you mean, oh, God? This is going swimmingly well. Now I've got to hold it up to the camera and no one will be able to see it anyway. So here's a keyboard switch. There's a keyboard switch. And on the back of it, as you can see, it's got a center leg. It's got a center dot in the middle and 2 prongs. So it's got 2 pins and it's got a post in the middle. Basically, they all have that same layout, and any switch like that should be a drop-in replacement. However, as I say, quite likely that they're all soldered in. So it's probably easier just to buy another keyboard. However, I tell you what, I'll give. There's a company that I'm talking to get some examples. Sahara Gaming. Sahara Gaming.
I don't actually know what you're looking for.
Sahara Gaming, yeah. Sahara Gaming. They're a Chinese. They're a Chinese budget brand of case and stuff like that. They have got a keyboard which I really want to get in for review. Sahara Gaming make a keyboard that has user replaceable switches in it. It's a cheap RGB keyboard. It's 60 quid, and it's got cheap replacement switches in it. I'll give them this pimp for free. And so yeah, just a thing. That keyboard exists. It's £60, and you can swap out those switches for whatever you want. They're not soldered. So yeah, hot swappable with Otemu and Gateron switches. So yeah, just a thought.
Interesting. Apparently, people from Corsair moved over there, according to this gentleman here in the chat, or lady, or.
Well, it used to work for Corsair. Oh, really?
Used to refer to themselves.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. As I say, yeah, I've no idea if. As I say, I have not looked at any of their products. I know but I've had an email from them saying, "Would you like to look at some of our products?" And I've replied saying, "Yes, I would like to look at some of your products."
You replied to an email?
I did. I do reply to some key. I reply to email. Well, I was going to say I reply to key emails when they're offering me free stuff, but I don't always do that. So yeah. However, yes, I said to Sahara again, yes, I would like to look at some of your stuff. I would definitely like to look at that keyboard, because a budget keyboard with replaceable switches sounds really interesting to me. Because the problem is, when you get into the custom keyboard space, you're going to be paying £200 or £300 for a keyboard.
Yeah. And
now, for someone like yourself who literally smashes the keyboard all day at work, that is probably worth it. But for most home users and gamers, absolutely know they don't want to spend £200 or £300 on a keyboard. So a
Yeah.
60 quid keyboard that is RGB and has hot swappable mechanical switches actually sounds pretty good to me. And I'm like, yeah, I want to see one of those.
I'd be
yeah.
interested to compare it to like the is it Orky who make the £30 mechanical keyboard?
Don't know.
Is it Orky or was it Anker? I can't remember. Someone, one of those brands that you've heard of for doing other stuff,
Yeah.
makes a mechanical keyboard that's like 30 quid or something, and it's like, I'd be interested to see what the like quality comparison is, because is it a case of I can just buy something that's basically half the price?
Orky have one that is currently £45 on Amazon. That's basically going to be the same as the Game Max Strike I've got over there. I bet money it's the same keyboard with Orky written on it instead of Game Max.
Maybe.
Yeah, that's what it'll be. It'll be the same thing. And most of the, like, if you saw one for £30, again, it'll be that same keyboard. That's what, because again, we had the conversation earlier on about how the problem with a lot of these budget brands is it's literally the same product with someone else's name on it. But you also pointed out how that's not necessarily a bad thing, because each one of these brands that buys the same product from a Chinese company and then puts their brand on it, they will have customized it somehow. It'll have a particular aesthetic or a different front panel or some kind of gimmick that budget company has added to it to make it their own. And that might be something that's appealing to you.
Absolutely. I mean, I remember from someone who was doing a roundup of cheap Chinese keyboards that a brand called Royal Kludge did quite well.
Oh no! Oh no!
Or Royal Kluge.
It's actually pronounced Kluge.
It's actually Bouquet.
Oh, that's
but yes,
terrible,
apparently they did really good.
Yeah.
In the manufacturing or at least rebranding of a keyboard. So yeah.
On that bombshell, I think we should probably wrap up because it's 5:30.
Absolutely, wrap up the Kludge.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have we got any last questions that we want to cover? I think we've kind of petered out. I think we're done. I think we're all done here. I'm gonna call it on that bombshell because we've been going for an hour 45. So yeah,
absolutely.
Apparently, Roy Kositsky too. There's a guy selling it for $130 here in the USA. There we go.
Good God, I wouldn't spend more than about $30 on a Kludge.
We're leaving. Thank you for tuning in, everyone. Big thank you to all the support as always. Big thanks for all the super chats we've had today. Massive thanks. Really appreciate it. Always appreciated, never required. We've got new stools that don't squeak, so thanks for that.
Exactly, which basically directly came from the super chats last week.
Literally, you guys bought us new chairs. Thanks. We'll be back next week as usual, and also there will be new videos out on the channel as always. There are always people that are just like sort of, is this channel going live now? It's like, no, these are not a replacement for the general videos. There'll be more of that. I will be, we'll be back next week with more. Be there or be square. We need a catchphrase. I want a catchphrase because like Linus always says, we'll be here, same bad place, same bad same bad time, same bad channel, or something like that. Which he himself robbed from somewhere else, I think.
Probably.
But I want a catchphrase like that. We've got to come up with one. But yeah.
Yes.
However, yes, the
come for the
no. Bye.
Wait, the Discord.
Oh, the Discord.
Yes, the Discord link will appear momentarily. But there is also, if you felt that financial remuneration was worth it for this, there is also a Patreon. And at some point, YouTube memberships will actually go live.
Look, it's hard. My life is hard.
Yes, absolutely. But at some point, they will happen, and there will be more ways for you to financially support this if you think this is worthy of your support.
There we go. There's the
and if
Discord.
you do think it is worthy of your support, we thank you.
I'm going to hit stop streaming now. Thank you very much, everyone. We'll see you next week. Goodbye!